为此法会悉一切众生心专妙法轮教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐殊胜无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, present the wonderful Dhamma will to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Nammo saranto sucedoye alahadi sammya sanputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi. Yuan Jie Ru Lai Zhen Shi Yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in 1,000,000 eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dhamma friends, welcome, good evening. This is Saturday, October 20th. We're in Berkeley, California, here at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. We're going to move right into the 9th stage, the 9th ground of the 10 stages, 10 grounds chapter here, Flower Garland Sutra. And if you have a copy of the text, we'd like you to look at the front cover here, because we're going to invoke spiritual presence first. We're going to invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to draw near, and we do that musically, as well as sincerely. Da-da-dee-da. Okay, that's our note. We'll try it and see how this works. We're going to recite, it's a chant actually, and you can do it with a guitar. There's okay putting a chant to a guitar. It just gives us a note to stay together with. We used to do it with percussion, talk, talk, and ding, which works fine. That's great. But it's not indigenous that way. And we have indigenous music modes that we can try. So let's do that. It's done in Chinese. It's there in the front. We'll get it into English one of these days, and we'll recite 7 times. Namo Tafan Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Hui O Pu Sa Namo Tafan Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Hui O Pusa Namo Tafan Guang Going to ask you to turn to page 56 and 57 in your text. We're down at the bottom, the lower half of the page. The Chinese begins with Shi, and the English begins with at that time. We're going to do the whole thing and then turn over to 58 and 59 for the last line. We'll take a big breath and read out the whole paragraph. Good chance to practice some Mandarin sounds. Okay, we ready? I'll give you a line, you give it back. 20金刚藏菩萨告解脱月菩萨言 Yes, I'm so happy. The guys, these are not native Mandarin speakers, and they're making those sounds happen. Great. 佛子菩萨摩诃萨以如是无量智思量观察 Yeah. 欲更求转胜 Sorry, let me try that again. Put the 5 together this time. 欲更 One more time. 欲更求转胜 There we go. 欲更求转胜 Oh, all 5 tones are in those 5. Here we go. 寂灭解脱复修习如来智慧入如来秘密法观察不思议大智性 Yeah. 净诸陀罗尼三昧门具广大神通入差别世界修利无畏不共法 Okay, we're almost there. 2 more lines. 随诸佛转法轮，不舍大悲，本愿力。Flip over to page 58, 59. Here we go, last line. 得入菩萨，第九善慧地。All right, well done. Gee whiz. Building a bridge from east to west, ancient to modern, consciousness to wisdom, in 4 tones. We're going to start with At That Time, Vajra Treasury, okay? Now this we do in unison. Sing it all, we sing it all together. We say it all together. There aren't tones in English, there are inflections, which still requires us to go up and down, but not in the pattern of ah, 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 ah. Chinese is really regulated that way among those tones. In English, we go high and low depending on the emphasis and the stress that we put on particular words. All right, are we ready? So, page 57, At That Time. Here we go. Together. At that time, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva said to Moon of Liberation Bodhisattva, and there's a colon, we take a breath. Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, uses limitless wisdom to reflect and to cultivate. Period. Take a breath. He wishes to initiate a quest for the ever more supreme liberation of nirvana. There's an L missing there. And further cultivate the wisdom of a Tathagata, enter the secret dharma of a Tathagata, contemplate the inconceivable nature of great wisdom, purify all gateways to dharani and samadhi, be endowed with vast spiritual abilities, enter all the many different world systems, cultivate the powers, the fearlessnesses, and the special dharmas, long sentence, follow all Buddhas in turning the dharma wheel, and not abandon the strength of great compassion's fundamental vows, take a deep breath, and by means of these, master the Bodhisattva's 9th stage of wholesome wisdom. Whew, period. We made it. That's one long sentence. There are 10 Dharma phrases and ideas packed into that one long paragraph. And just if we listen to the inflection of English, I didn't dare go da-da-da-da until we got to the period, right? So every comma, da-da-da-da, right? Meaning there's more coming. That's how English does it. Very interesting. Sounds and music built in to our languages. All right. So moving away from the external form of how this is presented in English, let's dig right in. What's going on? We've started the 9th stage. It's a Bodhisattva's 9th stage. And there's only one more after this. The Bodhisattva, our generic hero, our template, our model, our role model, if we decide we want to practice the way a 9th stage Bodhisattva practices, this role model is one step away from being a Buddha. 10th stage Bodhisattva, mind you, is not a Buddha, so he's more than one stage, but he is almost graduated from the training course called the 10 stages, 10 grounds. He's almost there. And so all of the things that the sutra tells us about this Bodhisattva they're almost at the end. Which makes it harder to relate, because we're not there, most of us. I'm assuming, I'll speak for myself. We're somewhere along the path, and like we occasionally catch glimpses of the top of Nirvana Mountain, when it's cloud-free, when the wind blows the clouds away. But we're not at base camp, but we're like, a couple steps away from base camp. This is talking about somebody who's already up the top. So with that in mind, if this sounds kind of heavy, I'm sorry, not heavy, heady. If this sounds elevated, it's because it is. So, I don't want people to think, boy, I didn't relate to the sutra this week, because it's talking about somebody who's almost ready to graduate, and we're working our way through the course, right? So, just to say, this is talking about somebody who's way up on the top. All right, nonetheless, you can marvel at it. You can go, wow, man, that's my potential when I get more refined, when I get further along in my meditation. What's it talking about today? It's talking about motive, the reason why. Why does a bodhisattva at this point continue into the ninth stage? How come? That's what it's talking about. It answers that question, why? So, motive? Motive is different at different stages. At this point, 佛子菩萨摩诃萨以如是无量智思维观察. This bodhisattva uses limitless wisdom to reflect and to cultivate. That's a mistake. By golly, I'm going to pull out my handy-dandy pen. He doesn't reflect and cultivate. He reflects and contemplates. Guancha. We went too fast when we were translating that. It's not that he cultivates. Of course, he does cultivate, but the word here that what we want in English is contemplates. There we go. So, 思量观察. In other words, the sutra is taking us into the bodhisattva's head. Could be male, could be female. Gender is totally unimportant here. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva uses wisdom to reflect and contemplate, which means he's not using analysis, he's not using comparison, he's not using cynicism, he's not using sarcasm, he's not using the motive of fault-finding or attacking, trying to poke holes in it. Not. Different use of the mind. And I think that's important to say because when the mind is quiet, we see things in it that are deeper than we do when the mind is used to critically compare, contrast, analyze, differentiate, right? When you're comparing things, when you're, for example, let's say we're driving in a car, you need to know when it's time to hit the brake, right? That action in the mind creates ripples. And it's important to make those distinctions so that you know, oh, I better speed up, I'm merging, and there's somebody fast approaching behind me. If I speed up, I'll slide right in and I'm on the freeway. That's a discriminating discernment that we make. Discernment is necessary at certain times. This is not one of those times. There's another use of the mind entirely where you want it to be quiet and still because you're bringing images from a very deep place. And those are two different kinds of meditation. So when I see Su Liang Guancha, he reflects, just think of a reflection, in a mirror, for example, or in still water. And then he contemplates. He uses that image to know what to do. Our main theme on the ninth stage is, for some reason I'm not hearing my voice loudly enough. I'm going to bring this up here. There we go. Okay. Our Bodhisattva is, it's working. We could just crank it up a little. Yeah. It's soft in the back. Yeah. We never know from week to week. Okay. A little louder. Just right. Here we go. Good, good, good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, the theme of the ninth stage is teaching. He's teaching. And it's called Wholesome Wisdom, Shan Hui. That's the name. These stages all have their names. The last one was hard to conquer, difficult conquest. But this is Wholesome Wisdom because he's teaching. He's going to find a way to make sense to a lot of different people at once, different living beings at once. So he's not basing it upon strictly accumulating knowledge. There's that wonderful homily, not a homily, quote. It's a quote from Taoist writing that says, 为学日益，为道而损，损之又损，归于无为，终复于无为，归于无为。When we study, we increase every day. Studying, learning, is a process of duowan, of hearing more, gathering, accumulating. You accumulate languages, you accumulate tools, you accumulate procedures, you accumulate methodologies, etc. Insights, wisdom. But, 为道而损, when you do the Tao, in other words, when you cultivate, you reduce every day. You reduce and reduce and reduce till you get back to Wu Wei, where nothing further needs to be done. And what does that mean? That was always a curious one to compare. Nothing needs to be done doesn't mean you're fully yourself. It means you're back in that quiet, contemplative place where without using any effort, you see everything. And you're able to respond instantly to changing conditions, but at all times your mind is unified. Consciousness has turned to wisdom at that point. Okay, so that's a great, I love that image. 为学日益, when you study, you add every day, you accumulate. 为道而损, when you do the Tao, when you cultivate, you reduce every day till you reach that place of not adding anything, because what is fundamentally full is all there, not covered over at all. You uncover, uncover, uncover till you get back to the light of your fundamental nature. That's a Buddhist interpretation of what was a Taoist statement, but I think it works. Shifu gave it to us that way. So, here he is reflecting and contemplating and looking quietly at what his mind brings up. And at this point, it's trustworthy. It's not always trustworthy. The stuff that comes up from inside sometimes, you've still got a lot of desire in there, a lot of self, so you don't automatically trust the images you get. But at this point, he's gone beyond. In the seventh stage, he went beyond self, tainting or polluting or corroding or corrupting the images that are rising. All right. I mentioned a couple weeks ago my first experience of meditation. When I first looked into my mind, I spent days and days and days and days just running through all the music that I'd heard growing up. Song after song after song. Entire scores of Broadway musicals. I went through being Mr. Applegate and Damn Yankees, to being J. Pierpont Finch and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, right? Now there you are. Yes, there's that face. It's like, stop. I'm meditating. Zen monks don't do that, Just endless purging of that stuff. So, yeah, you have to really be patient. It's a long process. How long we've absorbed, that's how long it takes to purge it back. So, what happens next as he contemplates, right? He, what does it say? Yu. He wishes. Now, some critics would say, oh, wait, I thought he was not seeking anything. All right. He still wants to teach. It's a selfless wish. He wishes geng qiu zhuan sheng ji mie jie tuo. He wants to, again, geng meaning more. So he's not there yet. There's still growth to happen. Qiu, seeking, zhuan sheng, progressively superior, excellent, ji mie, nirvana-ized liberation, jie. Okay, so I see what's happened here. I'm going to let it be. So what he's seeking for, Chinese is built that way. He wants liberation, jie, the Buddha's liberation. So how does he get the Buddha's liberation? It's nirvanized liberation, which is not really a word. We just made that up. That's a temporary word. Jimia, still tranquility, stillness and tranquility. So, Jerry, could you boost it again? I don't think it slipped, but I'm losing. I want to put it down. Got to hear my voice coming back before just a touch more. Okay, good. Yeah, better. Good. Right there. That's great. So once he went through the 8th stage, this guy, this cultivator, this girl, woman, could have stopped, and they would be in nirvana. But it's a nirvana that doesn't continue to unpack the very delicate, fine traces of ignorance and self that this bodhisattva still has covering her nature. So it's a process, not yet graduated, but real close. So he wants to seek the progressively superior zhuan sheng, ji mie jie tuo, still tranquil liberation, not yet free. Okay, so that's what I say. We're up there talking about somebody who's real close to being free of any further need to return in any form whatsoever. Fu, further, more, even more so, xiu xi ru lai zhi hui. And he wants to, again, xiu xi is cultivate, practice, to do it. Xiu xi is a vigorous verb. You're out there, putting in time on your cushion. You're out there bowing. You're making the offerings. You're listening to sutras. What? Ru lai zhi hui, Tathagata's wisdom. Oh boy. So what's the Tathagata's wisdom? It's what a Buddha knows. So that he's cultivating the Tathagata's wisdom. Now, you can do that without being a Tathagata, a one who has come thus, Buddha. Are we cultivating the Tathagata's wisdom? People would ask Shifu that question, and he would say, one thought of a Buddha and you're a Buddha. But the problem is your next thought is a living being's thought, so you're no longer a Buddha with the next thought. If thought after thought you're a Buddha, well done. If thought after thought you're a living being, well, that's where we mostly are. So, not a steady state until all that work's been done. We have flashes of insight. What is it? We decide not to respond when the Yahoo teenagers in their snappy cars cut in front of us in just booming through the diamond lane at 80 miles an hour to get around the car that was beside us so they could race on the freeway in the morning heading down to 237, and you go, and you, bless you, children, don't kill yourselves, and me either. There's a Buddha thought. Instead of, Damn those dirty son of a bitches. Get them now. Let's get their license plate. I'm going to catch them. You know, all the things that are, when these yahoos cut in front of you at high speed, and my heart beats faster. You know, my adrenaline shoots up. And you don't have to do that. That's extremely dangerous. You're messing with the lives of all these people because you're so bored and you want to show off the $120,000 you invested in your car. So, you know, if you can catch that thought and say, no, swallow it. Just hope that they don't die horribly. Let it go. Buddha thought. Okay, there's one. You saved one. So, like that. Or when you see the newest headlines, and we're not going to do that, but you see that 99% of the people who went underwater in South Carolina are going to get nothing from the government. You see that? That's yours. You're now living in a hotel, your house is underwater and molding, and you're on your own. You go, says who? Catch it. You know, part of a bigger picture. Whose fault? My fault? Anybody's fault? Their fault? Our fault. That's our time. So choose with wisdom and compassion. So, Buddha thought. There, caught that one. You know, instead of just rage at another injustice. Selfishness shouldn't win. And when it does, you think, So everybody is suffering more or less, even though it comes in the idea of making a profit or ensuring your profit at the expense of others. That's suffering. That's not getting away with it. You know, it's just on a bigger scale than the poor merchant in the marketplace grubbing for pennies. It's just writ larger. No different. It's suffering based on fear. So, freedom is abundance for all. You're not worried that you'll lose the benefits. You are happy to share to reduce suffering. That's freedom and liberation, not, I'm going to get all I can for me. So, that's as far as we'll go into that. So, ever more increasingly sublime, still tranquil liberation. That's what he's after. So still more to go, but he's got his sights right on the prize. He's going for what the Buddha has. All right? Now, because it's the Mahayana, what the Buddha has comes only through setting everybody free along with you. So that's one of the nice things about this form that we're investigating is it's supremely unselfish. It has a big view, and everybody, the vehicle, the bus carrying everybody towards this still tranquil liberation is a big vehicle. There's a seat for everybody. All right. Fu Xiu Xi Ru Lai Zhi Hui, the Tathagata's wisdom. The wisdom is not there only to be possessed by somebody, it's there to teach. That wisdom is called expedient wisdom. The Buddha wants everyone to erase the light, erase the darkness that covers what is fundamentally bright. Okay, next one. We done? Notice, are we following what I'm doing? I'm going down 10 things that are the motive for this Bodhisattva to continue to the ninth stage. We've done what? He wishes to initiate a quest. That's kind of nice. Initiate a quest for the ever more supreme liberation of nirvana. Further cultivate the wisdom of the Tathagata. That's 2. 3. Look at this one. Ru Lai Bi Mi Fa. It says Mi Fa, but it could be Bi Mi Fa. He, she wants to Ru. Okay, there's that verb. We talked about this a bunch. Ru sometimes means to enter, to go into. We're translating it more often now to master. You could also think of it as to embody, to integrate with. So you master, because you enter it because it enters you. You and it become one and the same. Okay, so you embody what the Tathagata's bimifa, wowie, the Tathagata's secret dharmas, we. Okay, why is that? Why does that elicit oh boys and wees out of me? Because in the Chinese Mahayana now, for the last 50 years out of its, 1800-year lifespan in China, there's been access to something called the secret school. And the secret school, Mi Zong, is a source of great confusion in the Mahayana. And it's largely placed on the shoulders of Tibetan Buddhists, but not entirely, and that's not entirely fair. There's also a Mongolian school called Lamaism that also has studied the secret school. Now, I'm not going to talk about it much right now because it would take us in a kind of off on a tangent. But what is the secret school? Why is it misunderstood? The way it's presented in the Chinese Mahayana is shortcut. It's quick. Easier than going through, lifetimes of first ground, second ground, third, fourth, fifth. We're on page 57, 56, 57, if anybody's keeping track. So what's the secret school? The secret school is recite a mantra, get an initiation, take part in what do they call it? A consecration, and you're there. You're a Buddha. Why bother following precepts, putting in the hours, repenting, bowing, rejoicing? Quick, easy. Mostly it has to do with ceremonies that somebody does to you, and you're there. You made it. I had no clue. I had no idea that this was also part of the Buddhist scene in Buddhist Asia, because why? In America it hadn't arrived much. But man, oh man, we went to Malaysia in 1978 and with Master Hua, and part of that tour, part of the reason for our delegation was just to get out and take a look and see how Buddhism had developed in Buddhist Asia and Southeast Asia as well, over the centuries that it's been there. And one of the issues was scholars. I was first a scholar of Buddhology, 佛学, before I became a cultivator of Buddha Dharma, 佛法. And I came through the door of language to the Chinese tradition, and I was also interested in Zen, Zazen. And Zen doesn't truck with the secret school much. There's not much secret school going on in Zen. There's not a lot of ceremonies, mantras. You're kind of suspicious of ceremonies and mantras. There are ceremonies. You chant. There's the Heart Sutra. And there are, a certain number of ceremonies. But Americans, Westerners, by and large, are impatient with ceremonies because the tradition that we have come from, by and large, is a praise tradition, unless you're Jewish, in which case there's a blend of things on holidays and such. But Christianity is very much a praise. You sing a lot, and there's lots of hymns. There's lots of say the magic words, And many of my friends were drawn to Zazen because you could sit there. You're instructed to Xi Kan Ta Za, Zhi Guan Da Zuo in Chinese. Sit there. Right? You sit and you experience yourself. You don't need the words. Words are suspect. They're extra. Okay, so the Zen tradition, as it came to America, didn't move towards the secret school. Only when I got with Master Hua to Malaysia did we hear about such things as oh, Lama so-and-so, this is not a slam on Tibet, it's pseudo-Tibetan Mahayana. It's a cult-ish branch of the Tibetan tradition that does things like we discovered, where somebody would say, show up at our Dharma talks, our sutra lectures, they would say, oh, I got this horrible headache, terrible headache. I never had migraines. This is not a migraine, this is worse. It's a headache, it's a vomit headache, just empty my whole stomach out because my head hurts so much. And it came after I got the initiation from Lama so-and-so. Well, when did that happen? Well, they were in town last week, and they came through, and we all had to drink something. And after I drank something, I just had this horrible, terrible, couldn't sleep. I haven't slept in a week. And I wasn't the only one. There was a bunch of us. And so they'd already moved out of town to the next town, and somebody called them and said, we got this horrible headache. And the answer was, oh, well, then mail in the $100, and we'll take care of it for you. Meaning, it's on purpose. It's a money-making scheme to hex people. Who'd ever heard of Buddhism and hexes or voodoo or anything like black magic? And you have to pay to get the antidote. And it was like, that's unscrupulous. Is that religion? And these people were in the robes of lamas. They were not practicing Tibetan Buddhists. They were sorcerers, magicians, right? Out to abuse the good name of Tibetan Buddhism and hoax a lot of people who made the fault of what? Looking for secrets, wanting something quick and easy, trying the new Dharma in town because it was advertised as being quick, secret. We kind of, it sounds cool. Slightly kinky, slightly fun, None of this precepts, concentration, and wisdom boring stuff. You have to really kind of change your behavior. You have to get rid of your habits and faults to make progress in what's called the xianzong, the revealed, the non-secret, the evident school, which is what Buddhism has been for thousands of years. The secret school is you pay your money, you sit in the session with the magic guy, and he does something, and you get the secret. And you get a scroll or a certificate. And you also, if it's the wrong kind of secret guy, you get a headache. And you get real sick. So we found this all through Malaysia. Then we found it in Indonesia. There is unscrupulous people who pretend, who disguise themselves as Buddhists, who, hex you. And gee whiz, my eyes are like, can't we all just meditate? What happened to Zazen? Well, Zazen's too slow and it hurts your legs. You got to sit there. So you can't entirely blame the charlatans who are taking advantage of people's greed for quick and easy and giving you something you really don't want in the name of secrets. So, I think probably every religion has their share. When I was a master's student, right here in Berkeley, California in the 70s, there was a fellow named Marjo Gortner. Remember Marjo? Some people are old enough to remember Marjo. Marjo Gortner, bless his heart, was the child of tent evangelists who made their way through the evangelical tent meetings of largely the South, but also the Midwest and Texas and places. And they were faith healers. And they made their living as, I guess, honest charlatans. Is that fair to say? Preachers. They were preachers. It's a kind of evangelical fundamental Christianity that has exactly the same mind as the seekers of the secret school in Buddhism, which is what? You want the guy who's got the power, in some cases the woman who's got the power, in the case of Marjo, the child who's got the power, to lay it on you and make your pain go away. Right? And so what do? They talk in tongues, glossolalia, and this magic talk comes out, and the Spirit is on them, and they can talk in tongues. And then you come up to the altar, come down to the rail, and they put their hands on your head. Drive that spirit out of you. And they fall back. Somebody catches them and lays them down. They shake on the ground, cover them with a blanket to keep their modesty. And if you're a farmer or if you live in a small town, you wait for the tent preacher to come in because it gives your life something to look forward to. Something that's not ordinary. It's extraordinary. And, of course, the preacher knows that, and part of the show is passing the plate. And Jesus said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Jesus! Praise His name. So, and Marjo was this young boy who was known as the 5-year-old preacher. What happened? His parents decked him out as part of their act. He's a 5-year-old kid, and he did his first marriage at age 5. This famous photo was having a sailor who was coming to port, was marrying his sweetheart, and the ceremony was done by Marjo, the little boy. And they have a video. I pronounce you man and wife. And it went fine and through his teen years. And then Marjo tuned in, turned on, and dropped out. Grew his hair, smoked dope, and blew the whistle on his parents. And said, there were those days when they held me underwater when I wouldn't memorize my lines. There were those days when I got whooped bloody because I didn't want to go out on stage, he said. And he talked about the healings that went on. He says, you get a chicken heart. Mom or dad would go or they would send somebody to the butcher shop in the town they were in, come back with about 3 or 4 chicken hearts. Chicken hearts, you ever see a chicken heart? It's a little piece of meat. And they would have somebody come down to the railing with their tumor. Their doctor gave them 3 weeks to live. Place your hands on the Bible. Hallelujah! Boom! Oh, look, there's the tumor. Hallelujah! God is spoken. It's wonderful. Cured. They fall back, And he'd say, I'll show you where I kept my chicken hearts. I kept them right here in my sleeve, ready for hand, And then he'd demonstrate a glossolalia, how you could talk in tongues. And, of course, the more magic, the more money would come in. And, I don't want to sound critical because, look at me. I'm in costume, right? But these folks were preachers who would make their living by delivering a quality of religious experience to folks who wanted it, who loved it. And that was what they knew. And it was alive and it was real and the singing was great. They'd play the organ and shake and have an experience of faith in times when there wasn't much to believe. Life was tough in those towns. And when the tent show rolled up, you went. And people in and among it, people got healed. And Marjo talked about, how the money rolled in. And some of them got really rich, and they still do. There's on the cable, somebody told me about the rich preachers of LA. Anybody seen that one? There's a show. I should look it up. I heard about this. Maybe somebody can check. The pastors of LA or the preachers of LA. It's a cable network show where these same men of God compete for their airplanes, for their jet streams. Now God has spoken through the greater glory that I am able to bring across the South in my jet stream airplane. And they have these gilded Bentleys and Rolls Royces that they roll from church to church in. And they have, gold in their teeth or diamonds in their teeth. And it's men of God, mostly men, but sometimes their wives too, who are somehow, their affinities, the Buddhists would say they've somehow got these affinities that their job is to take money from a believing populace, believing faithful. So, the Preachers of LA, somebody check it out. It's a series. What is it called? Preachers of LA. It's a series. Yeah. It's a reality show. Yeah, and they talk about their cars. They talk about how they, upgrading their jet, getting a new jet, because the old one, bless their soul, is, just showing its years. So, by golly. So, the Tathagata's secret dharmas. What would a Tathagata's secret dharma be? Place your hands on the meditation cushion. Hallelujah. Not that. Rulai, mi fa. He masters the Tathagata's secret dharmas. Secret meaning something that the mind doesn't have a picture of, something that language cannot express, but is nonetheless completely real and effective. So you can't describe it, you can't give an analogy, you can't give a picture of something else that's like it, because it's only revealed once your mind lets go of what you're holding on to right now. This Bodhisattva can handle it now. Isn't that interesting? Now, I'm in a position where I can't tell you what that's like, because I don't know. But here it is in the sutra, so there are places that are waiting for us to move into, live into, and consciousness keeps us out. So don't struggle with trying to understand it. Okay, next. 观察不思议大智性. 观察 verb, contemplates, 不思议 inconceivable, large wisdom, nature. Contemplates the nature of, how do we translate it? Inconceivable nature of great wisdom. So, what is this? Let's give a taste of it. So, in our meditation, we get to a place that is really, really quiet. I think most of us could relate. Often it's after going through some sort of difficulty. For me, it's always pain in the knees. If you haven't sat through pain in the knees in your meditation, this may sound like some sort of bizarre ritual or mortifying the flesh or something nobody wants. Why would you do such a thing? Master Hua, being a Chan master, Chan monk, would talk about being patient. He would say, 人要忍 人所不能忍，要让人所不能让. You want to be patient where people cannot be patient. You want to endure what people can't endure. You want to let go of things that people can't let go of. So you go, gee, that sounds scary, Shifu. And he'd say, just, we sit. And we would sit hours. Our incense sticks for chan are 60 minutes. They're not 45, they're not half an hour. And it's that last 15 minutes. If you're, at most Zen, Japanese Zen temples sit 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes, half an hour. The Chan tradition, our monk from China who was here, our abbot of Zhenru Monastery, Master Chunwan, said in their sessions at Zhenru Monastery, they do different times. 30-minute sessions sometimes, 20 minutes before lunch, sometimes 90, hour and a half, depending on the day, depending on the time of day. So it's that last 15 minutes when your knees start to talk to you. They start to say, stop it, I'm going to die, you're going to break me. I thought you were compassionate. This is not compassion, this is misery, stop. What if your knee actually breaks? What are you going to do then? You can't walk anymore. You think Buddhists, what do? They hobble? What do? They crawl? No, stop. It just gives you reasons to just drop your legs. That's all they want you to do is go like that, And you go, okay, a little longer, What do you mean longer? They're asleep. They're not paying attention. They're asleep. The one who's ringing the bell, he's asleep. It's okay. Probably not asleep. Just wait and just wait there. It'll be over soon, And you do all kinds of stuff. Master Hua occasionally would come down the row with cups of hot tea sweetened with honey, just to get us to be able to sit. You give your knees a cookie. You say, I'll just give you a cookie when it's over. Power bar, you want a power bar? How about half a power bar? Or a third of a power bar, all right? And then later, another third later, And you just do what it takes to wait there, and ding, the bell, drop your legs, forget all about it, it's over, the circulation's normalized. Then you're back, it's another hour, and it all starts up again. And you go, the self in there does not want to yield to the dharma, the fa, the mold, the discipline of sitting still. Okay? And this is that experience of Chan. And then Master Hua would say, just be patient, just wait it out, just wait, And at a certain point, everything changes. And they say, you're through the pain gate. And he would describe it as, the qi, which is this magical force running through your body right this minute, kind of a parallel system to the nerves and the blood vessels. The qi, tong, connects. And they would say, how you kink a hose when you're trying to water your roses? And the hose kinks and the water goes, shoo, right? And if you unkink it, shoosh, the water comes again. He say, you're unkinking the conduits for your qi, your nerves, and your blood to circulate. He says, when you do that fully, it's very comfortable, he would say. And you go, it hurts now, Shifu. And you just, pretty soon you relax into the pain. You don't just fight the pain, and you have to give up. You really do have to surrender. Well, probably not going to die. How many Chan monks die? Not many, right? You ever hear of a Chan monk dying in Chan in meditation? Then Master Hua would say, if you go so, who cares? If you die, we're going to stuff you under the bench. We'll bring you out next spring when it's all over. Oh no, sure. He would alternate between this fierce Chan master and this gentle, And you get through it, and through the pain gate, the pain is gone. And there's this sense of stillness, and it's big. You think, and as soon as you think, hey, you know what? The pain's gone. Oh, it's hurting again, right? As soon as the mind moves back to me and pain and my knees, it's all it. You realize, why does it hurt? It's because your mind was anticipating pain, fearing your legs breaking, never experiencing this before, etc. It's the mind that you're relaxing. And you have to be still and quiet. And when you do, you get through. And by golly, the next time you sit, you have had that experience. It may have been 10 seconds of stillness, or 30 seconds, or 60 seconds, depending on how tired you were before you activated the discriminating consciousness again. So how interesting, right? So, what is it? You contemplate the inconceivable nature of great wisdom, which is there waiting for you to be really still and quiet, so that you can, number one, master samadhi, merge with this stillness and concentration, and two, just bit by bit, connect your body. So, what am I describing? It's both physical and mental and spiritual. The surprising part is how much of it is yoga, how much of it is your body. That's why Zen Chan is not a head trip. People who argue about states of Chan haven't been through the pain, have not opened those knotted hoses to let the water flow. It's not an idea. It's an experience. And when you can, it's like, wow. It's very comfortable. The slightest tension will block it. If you're holding your head like this because you're holding on, it's not going to work. You have to be perfectly symmetrical and perfectly quiet and relaxed. That's why in Japan, our beloved Roshi, Uchiyama Roshi, when he would sit, he would always start his sit like this. He would put a big smile on his face, and then he would lean to the right, lean to the left, and lean to the right, and he'd look around. We're going to do Zazen, he would say. A little less, and unmoving. He would find the center, it's like a pendulum. Didn't move. And you just feel this stillness descend. And his attitude was always, wow, Zazen. It's like, terrific, what fun. This is great, my favorite thing. It would be, let's do Zazen. So, it's that stillness in the center, not a muscle holding you. It's skeletal. This thing is balanced with this thing, is balanced with this thing. Straight line, Yan Guan Bi, Bi Guan Ko, Ko Guan Xin, ears, shoulders, hips. So it's effortless to sit, to keep that. And as soon as your mind thinks, what if it starts to hurt? Tension, anxiety, fear, projection, you got to let all of that settle. And then, kind of like a tuning fork. Anybody in your old guitar case have a tuning fork? Yeah. You set it down like that, This should be A440. Here we go. There we go. Our bells are tuned to A440. And by golly, that's the probably Wei Chan, that's the flavor of Chan, heading towards real stillness. And as soon as the smells from the kitchen waft in and your nose goes, spaghetti, oh, my knee is burning, Because why? Discriminating, you threw a pebble into that stillness, spaghetti. Okay, so I let the spaghetti go and stillness returns. So it only takes one sense organ to knock you completely out of that stillness. The Bodhisattva now is like ping dong. Everything's okay, no problem, pretty much the same. Like that. So, because of that, what happens? He is Jing Zhu To Lo Ni San Mei Men. He is able to purify gateways to dharani and samadhi. How do you purify a gateway? That's not a very felicitous translation, is it? Purify a gateway. First you get out your Mr. Clean and a bucket with a mop and some Brillo and rubber gloves and you scrub it. No, that's not what it means. Well, what does it say? Mun. So it's a gateway, and I believe it's because the experience of dharani and samadhi in your physical, spiritual, mental unit here is like going through a gate. You have a sense of something opening, I believe. So that's why it's called a mun. It's really that last door, the last word there, M-E-N. You see that one? Looks like a gate, looks like a swinging door. You see that one, that character? 2 from the bottom, third one from the left. San Mei Mun. See that character? That's a, what do you call it? A swinging door, So it's like that, I believe. When these dharanis, this function that arises from within, and the samadhis, which is that increasing stillness that comes from having waited out the unkinking of the knots in your body. Ju Guang Da Shen Tong, he at this point is full of, the Ju means endowed with, full of, like, we translate it badly as perfecting. What? Da, Guang Da Shen Tong, great big psychic ability, psychic powers. So you can do things that seem magical, but they're all built in, and they're activated by compassion. Further, Ru Chi Bie Shi Shi Jie. Okay, this is out there, right? You can Ru, now in this case, is it master? Probably means to go into, to integrate with what? Many different world systems. Now, you could think of it as like traveling, but I think it's much more like you fully comprehend the many amoeba colonies in your body. Probably means like in your bloodstream, like in your tear ducts, in your imagination, in your sense of humor, all those worlds, right? They say Buddha's in a mote of dust. You break open a mote of dust and you find limitless numbers of Buddhas turning the Dharma wheel, that kind of world. I don't think it means necessarily you get your passport and you head off to Belize or to, Indonesia. I think it's much more the worlds that open up to you as you discover your fundamental nature. Okay, look at this list. Furthermore, the verb here is 2 from the bottom. Xiu is the verb. Li, wu wei, bu gong fa. This is a common list that it's a list that we find commonly in these sutras, which are called the powers or the strengths, the fearlessnesses, and the uncommon Buddha Dharmas. That's a list. What are they? 10 powers, 4 fearlessnesses and the 18 special Buddha Dharmas. That's a list that comes up a lot. At this point in the Mahayana, the Bodhisattva is pulling these out of his or her own nature. Okay? You just take it from me that that's what's going on here. I could list them for you, but I would fumble somewhere about the third special Buddha Dharma. I can tell you the 10 powers and the 4 fearlessnesses. We've done them before. But let's just say that these are qualities that emerge at the point where you're this much of a master of your mind. Okay? These are abilities. They're all there. Each of us has them according to the sutra, but we don't have the requisite stillness to bring them up. They come from contemplation. Remember at the top here, he is reflecting and contemplating, not cultivating, reflecting and contemplating. These all arise from within. They're there. We've got 9 now. Let's see, is that 9? And Sui Zhu Fo Zhuan Fa Luan. Nope, that's 8. Okay. She follows the Buddha in turning the Dharma wheel. I think that's neat. It's that one of the jobs that Buddhas have is telling the stories of the sutras. Okay, that was a deliberate choice there. We had our storytelling seminar today, number 4 out of 4, and the today was the kind of what do you say? It was not to say graduation, but it was the what would the word be? It's the giving back of stories by the students who had been absorbing for 4 classes the techniques, the methods, the energy of being a storyteller. And the challenge was for each student to share a story. And there were a whole variety of approaches to it. Some were very long, some were very short, some were once upon a time or long ago. One was decades ago, a personal story that was anonymous, but it was pretty clear as the story went on that it came from personal experience. And it was a wonderful showcase of the need, I would say the hunger even, of our animal to share stories as a primary means of identifying who we are. Stories are fundamental to our knowledge. Stories are the way we find our roots and connect to our human tribe. They're that fundamental. Can you imagine? Let's take it at a primal level. I watch adult birds teach baby birds how to be birds. They go to bird school right in front of me on my deck. And sometimes I'm involved in the lesson. There's a mother butcher bird who has brought me 2 generations of babies as she teaches them how to catch food in the air. And she lands and she looks at me like this. And I recognize her. And she'll come right in front of me and look up and kind of, she'll imitate the motions. And I'm picking up a communication and I go, oh, sure, wait a minute. Get a cracker, come back, scrape the salt off it. They don't do salt very well. Break off a corner of it and go, whoop. And the mother butcher bird goes up into the air and catches the cracker at the peak of its arc. She's in motion as the cracker leaves my hand to pick it up here, and she lands and she looks at her daughter. And the daughter's like, and I, boom, lands down, you know. And then sometimes she'll take it and beak feed it to the baby. Food, get that? There's a reward for doing that, you know. And then I go to the baby, bonk. The baby gets it on the head. She hasn't, you know, she just learned to fly. And her color is different. She's brown and mom is black and white. Brilliant black and white. And the baby's still in camouflage color, you know. And the mom will go, oh, okay, sure. She'll feed like 3 of them to the baby, beak feeding, you know. And then I'll toss one up. And then the uncle, the mother's brother, gets in between and grabs it from the baby. And the mother has to punish her brother. Get away, man, I'm teaching my kid. And the uncle is like, oh, you know. It's a whole family dynamic here in front of me, you know, stories. How do you learn to be a bird? Well, you teach them with what you got. In this case, she's got a monk with crackers, you know. So it's like, yeah, stories. We are stories. And that one is done without words, but boy, the imagery and the role of the mother is so clear. She's the teacher, and this kid's got to learn it, and there's a time when she's ready. And she's not ready, she's not ready. But the mom opens the class, hoping the kid may come back, you know. Do it 3 times, and that uncle, what a pain in the neck. He's in there interfering with the lesson, getting free crackers, you know. And then there's the time when the baby is kicked out of the nest. She's on her own now. And the mom doesn't feed her, and the baby's there. And the mom's like, no, your turn. You know, she flies away. The lessons are over. And then, at this wonderful moment when the whole family moves another part of the bush, and going over to lunch, it was about 2-3 months had passed, and I was with my colleague Sam, who was probably translating this lecture right this minute in Australia, and going over to dining hall. And as we came out after lunch, I heard this, and I looked up. Right over my head on the gutter was this smaller, brilliantly black and white butcher bird. Sam said, look, it's the baby. And sure enough, this adolescent female butcher bird now was a grown-up butcher bird, sporting her adult colors and looking me right in the eye, saying, you know, look at me, you know, got some crackers? You know, I can catch them now, you know. And it's like, whoa, you know, look how beautiful. She graduated. She's still here. She's around. And she remembered me. She's wanted to look in my eye. You know, it's like, oh, whoa. Her consciousness was compelling, you know, there. And I said, come on over to the house. I don't have any crackers here. Come on over. We'll feed you. And she didn't, but she made the contact, you know. And Sam has got the sharper eyes than I do. And he said, that's the baby. No longer, you know. So, stories. We are stories. And you think we've evolved? No, monkey see, monkey do, man. Butcher bird see, butcher bird do, you know. And watching today's storytelling class take the first steps into owning their stories. How wonderful. So, by golly, stories are so powerful. Now, what is our Bodhisattva doing? He is Suiju Fo Zhuan Fa Lun, following all Buddhas and telling Bodhisattva stories in the Avatamsaka Sutra. What's the Avatamsaka Sutra? It's a story about being very, very unselfish and big-hearted, seeking nirvanized liberation, seeking the stillness and tranquility of the Tathagata's freedom, unknown to anybody who has not uncovered their fundamental nature. This is not an arhat story. This is not a pracheka story, a solitary Buddha. This is a bodhisattva story. Someone who's uncovered their nature to this point. And the subtext is, and you can too. Right? It's not limited to a special caste or class. It's open to anybody who enrolls, anybody who signs up. So let's finish our 10 here. 不舍大悲愿本力. He not abandon the strength of great compassion's fundamental vows. Key to the formation of this 9th stage is the Bodhisattva doesn't forget why they set out on this path, which was beings are hurting. Sentient beings suffer, and here's something better than aspirin, better than Tylenol, right? Buddha Dharma. And the summary, the conclusion, this is the refrain, the last line of the song. Chinese is 得入菩萨第九善慧地. And by means of these 10 motives, 10 reasons why, this Bodhisattva masters the 9th stage of wholesome wisdom. Amen. So Marjo made a movie where he told the story of the training that he had received at the hands of his parents. And he was, this was in the 70s, and he was a hippie, I guess you'd say, but he had found a girlfriend, and he left the tent show. And what did his parents say? They said, ho ho, he fell to the devil. He is possessed. He is not in touch with the passion of the Christ. We forgive him. Then Marjo needed to make a living. And so he came back as an awoke preacher. And he did some Hollywood movies. I think he became a producer. We followed him. I got the movie, because this was a documentary that I had seen called Marjo. And it was fascinating because he, you've seen The Wizard of Oz. Everyone has seen The Wizard of Oz? Yes? Okay, Wizard of Oz? Right? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Right? Toto sneaks over and drags the curtain. I don't think you're a wizard at all, says Dorothy. So Marjo is Toto pulling the curtain back on the tricks of the trade if you're a tent preacher evangelist. Not all. And he goes on to try to make a living, and he's awoke. He's telling, he's practicing the dharmas that he explained. And that's righteous in that he wasn't pretending. He said, some people need it. Some people want it and love it. This is the religion they grew up with. I'm good at it. I'm going to find the goodness in it and continue to give it to those who want it. Which is okay. If people are curious about it, Marjoe. Check out Marjo. His last name was Gortner, Marjo Gortner. He's I wonder if he's still alive. I think he went to Hollywood, and he's a very handsome guy. And he had that amazing childhood of being the 5-year-old preacher who married his first couples at age 5. So, by golly. Okay, we're moving through. We're entering the Dharma of the 9th stage. Jerry, okay?
Question is, most of us won't be able to achieve samadhi and various higher states through meditation. Do we continue to pursue this path, or instead Amitabha Buddha instead, or practice our Bodhi resolve?
Which last line was, Bodhi resolve what?
Or practice our Bodhi resolve. So I think that's 3.
Okay.
Meditation, recite, Amitabha Buddha, or practice.
Okay. In my mind, I think I know who asked that question. You have to tell me. So the question is, most of us, now I wouldn't make that assumption, that's assuming a lot. Most of us won't be able to practice these higher dharmas of, what did he say, of samadhi and?
Most of us won't be able to achieve samadhi and higher states.
Okay, samadhi and higher states, okay. Most of us, said the questioner, won't be able to attain these higher states of samadhi and through meditation. Samadhi, higher states of meditation. And I would stop you right there and challenge that and say, you don't know. Speak for yourself. Don't count others out so quickly. But let's say, if you're right, should we then recite the Buddha's name? Do what? Number 2?
Number 2 is recite Amitabha Buddha.
What was it, number 1?
Number 1 is meditation.
Should we? Okay. So, should we meditate, or should we recite the Buddha's name, or pursue the Bodhi resolve? All of the above. They're not exclusive. And so we bring Piedmont Middle School here in the spring. There's 300 6th graders who show up here in one morning. 3 groups of 100 6th graders, wonderful age. Did you teach 6th graders, Brian? Yeah, wonderful. Their minds are alive and yet they're still innocent. They're not looking left and right yet. So, of those 300 kids, we bring them right where you're all sitting and show them how to cross their legs and meditate and encourage them. And they giggle like mad. Oh, we're allowed to do this. This is really fun. Oh my God. Can I do this? Is this okay? And of the 3 groups of 100 each, about maybe 1 in 5 puts their legs in full lotus and goes, huh. Not the guitar. Never mind the guitar. The guitar is not important. But they sit. And maybe that's 1 out of 5, so 20%. Another 40% can do 1, and then there's like another maybe half their legs are like butterflies, and they can't. I'm never going to do this. And you think, gee whiz, there like 12 or 10? 6th grade is how, 10? 12. How come, aren't they supposed to be flexible as, babies? Not. Who can sit full lotus? Who can sit half lotus? Who can sit no lotus? You don't know. You don't know. It's not chronological age. It's something like, we'd say, wholesome roots, good qualities, I found myself sitting in full lotus in my bedroom at age 12 and not wanting to tell my basketball, baseball, football buddies, because they would have thought that was entirely too weird. What are you doing that for? What? But I did it because I could. It's like, It felt really comfortable. No idea why. And my roommate David Bernstein, who went on to become Bhikshu Hung Yo, he sat full lotus for hours, and he did as a kid. So I would challenge the questioner to say the ability to meditate and enter higher states and samadhis has nothing to do with your job, your marriage, it has more to do with your willingness to make that a priority and not do other stuff. I would challenge the questioner, why not? Right? Why not? Tell me why not. Well, I'm too busy. No, you're not. You choose to do other stuff. Time is totally flexible. You can do anything you want. Where are your priorities? Well, I spend too much time on my computer. Oh, yeah. I watch too much Netflix. Oh, yeah. Drink too much Starbucks. Oh, yeah. So if it's a question of priorities. Now, I'm answering a little stiffly, but look at it, So the question is, do I give up and say, well, Buddhahood's for somebody else, I'll just recite the Buddha's name? Why are you dissing reciting the Buddha's name as second best? Some people don't want to meditate. Some people love bhakti, devotion. I asked Master Hua, Shifu, what's the highest Dharma door? Yao Nian Fo Shi Wu Liang Guang. He said, recite the Buddha's name. It's limitless light. What's wrong with limitless light, dude? Second best? No. So don't assume, that's my point. And the Bodhi resolve became number 3 there. Come on, if you can make the Bodhi resolve, you don't have to do either one. You're already going to be listening carefully to people's pain, going to the end of the line and finding a way to bring them forward. Doesn't matter what you cultivate. If your Bodhi resolve is real, you're going to get there sooner or later, last, and happy. So I would pick that question apart and say there's a lot of attitude displayed in that question that you could examine profitably. So I'm looking at Jerry, putting him on the spot. It's not you're not at fault. So, yes, Van.
My mother instilled in me that anything is possible and anything is achievable. You haven't achieved it yet. It's because you don't want it enough. You don't want it bad
Good for you. I don't have to translate. You all heard it. Yeah, good for your mom. Okay. Anybody, does that questioner want to challenge me? Like, come back?
No, but there's another person commenting. He's understanding that the way the Tao is long term, you cannot achieve it in one lifetime.
So the Tao is long term, you can't achieve it in one lifetime. So which lifetime are you going to stop moving forward? Subtract that lifetime from getting to the Tao, right? You don't know how long it is. You might be ready. You might be just waiting for application of effort to accomplish the Tao. As soon as you stop, then forget it. You've obstructed your natural progress otherwise. So we're all in the same place, which is we saw a young woman. She saw 2 monks bowing, 3 steps, 1 bow. Got excited, applied herself, her deva eye opened up in a matter of months. Master Hua said she was just ready. She was waiting. You don't know where you are until you try. And if you don't try, you've subtracted that year from your progress. Right? So, 不怕慢，只怕站. Don't fear that you're going slow, only fear that you'll stop. Wasn't that a good answer? Aren't you glad? Brisk, right? Dedication of merit. Then I want to sing you another song. The last page of your book. This guitar is loud. Make a wish. Those homeowners in South Carolina, oh my goodness. The only good thing to come out of that is they're going to switch their vote. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. This is a national resophonic wood body. It's called a reso rocket. Wow. So, I wanted to mention that today we got progress on our lawn. We gave up our lawn. We let it go when the drought really hit, and we haven't watered it. And our lawn was kind of the pride of the neighborhood as far as the local dogs were concerned. It was a main stop on every walk. And lots of Berkeley High School couples found their way to the lawn, just, as a place of green. And it became just a dry, arid eyesore for a long time. So we've discussed what we're going to do, and today we actually broke ground, rototilled, hoed it down, big chunks became little chunks became tilth, and we uncovered our 2 citrus trees that are in the shadow of the building too much to ever grow, really, and we planted a fig tree that probably is in the same situation. But we have a dunglong, I have to get the Latin name for that one, that we're going to plant. We're going to put some benches out there and lots of discussion about the ground cover. We don't want pebbles because there are windows close by and teenage boys walk by all day long. So we discussed the benefits of tree bark, which comes out of chippers, which is kind of mulch. And it's okay. We've got to stop it from sliding onto the sidewalk and all. So we made progress, and we appreciate all the volunteers who gave their time, and probably feeling a little sore today from all the digging, right? You got the dirt scrubbed out of your nails and stuff. Good work. So can we look at page 76? Now your part is the last line of every verse. It goes like this. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. Say it twice, sing it twice. True story, down in a place called Gaviota Pass, which is right where Santa Barbara meets Big Sur. It's a very dramatic place. The sand dunes and oil rigs of Santa Barbara and the Channel Islands become the mountains of the Los Padres National Forest. Is Big Sur, 60 miles of cliffs and whitecaps, seagulls, and occasionally you think you're seeing whales off the coast. They go by. So there's this one large tree just before Gaviota Pass. And when Marty Verhoeven, former Hung Chau, and I bowed through, it had been a drought for about 6 years then. And similar weather pattern to ours now. And it was so hot and so dry that the animals, and we were going at one mile per day, not even a mile per hour, 1 mile per day, as we bowed, we got to see everything alive around us. So whatever was moving or not moving, we got to watch. And in this case, under this big spreading tree, I suspect it was a banyan, maybe, there were deer over here, their tongues out, in the heat, beating the heat in the shade of the tree. And on this side of the tree, looking at the deer with their tongues hanging out, were the feral dog packs from the rich homes that had moved and left the dogs. And over on this side next to the deer were the rabbits. And the rabbits, you could see their lungs moving fast because they have higher metabolisms. They were like that. And over on this side next to the dogs were a couple coyotes looking at the rabbits. Natural enemies together finding shade under the tree from the brutal sun that was their universal enemy, the heat. Over there we saw frogs. Over here we saw snakes. Natural food, you know, and because of the heat, they all agreed to a truce during the hot sun. Only the monks were foolish enough to be bowing under the hot sun. Mad dogs, Englishmen, and monks, you know, were out there under the hot sun. So the song came up, we are sitting in the shade of the family tree. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. Okay, that's your part. You know when to come in. Here we go. Water and earth, wind and fire, roots digging deeper, branches reaching higher, north and south and east and west, all beings akin to me. Here we go. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. I got earth in my feet, I got oceans in my knees. 7 generations live on inside of me. My roots connect the universe, all beings are family. Here we go, together. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. What we do to our planet, we do to our home. Planet Earth is our address, nobody lives alone. Everyone's a neighbor in our Earth community. Ready? We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. Earth is home to all of us. Share the crops, don't make a fuss. Share the food grown in the ground. There's enough to go around. Eat the burger, feed the cat. One you savor, one you pet. Pet the burger, eat the cat. How you gonna get it straight? This is my pet, this is lunch. I got brothers wearing fur, I got sisters wearing fins. Some with wings and some with tails, some with rainbow skin. I don't eat my family. Come sit here right by me. Ready? We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. Now the cook, she calls it omelet, but the chicken called it egg. You may call it drumstick, but the turkey called it leg. Every mother loves her children. Live and let life be. We can sit beneath the shade of the family tree. Come on, sit beneath the shade of the family tree. Come on, sit beneath the shade of the family tree. That song is about to be released. Oh, as soon as we get the package together. We are moving towards Guanyin session time at City of 10,000 Buddhas tonight, right? Starting out tonight. Yep. And this week, the Guanyin session. Wonderful time to be part of the City of 10,000 Buddhas community. That's CTTB at its best when everybody's reciting Guanyin's name. So if you had a week, a day, a couple days, this you might consider going up and taking part. Doug Powers does a class in the evenings to explain what it's about for folks who don't speak Chinese. I myself am off to China in 3 days for only 8 days, 9 days. We'll be back, but next week, Jin Fosher will be explaining the Sutra Limitless Lifespan, Liang Shou Jing, and Jin Chuan and Jin Wei Shi and I are going to the Buddhist Forum in a place called Putian in Fujian, a place I've never been. And we're also going to Xiamen. Actually, it's funny, if you look at the map, here's China, here's Taiwan, this island. Putian is directly across from Taipei. That's where the forum is meeting this year. So we'll have stories about Buddhism in China to share with everybody when we get back. So. The next storytelling gathering and the first of a monthly storytelling group will be November 10th. You'll hear more about that. Come if you want to get in on the ground for our next round of storytelling circle that we're forming. So Brian will be here to lead us forward. And we're going to be looking at the stories of Aesop. Aesop's Fables. Ho, ho, ho. That's a wonderful collection. Aesop has quite a history. They think, there's a theory, that Aesop heard the Jatakas as they came from India through Greece. He was a slave. Some people had different names. And he heard a lot of stories. And Aesop's stories went all over Europe. And I learned them through the fables of La Fontaine. Un pauvre boucheron tout couvert de ramée sur le fait des fagots aussi bien que des hommes, marchant à papier et something, I forget the rest. And it's the woodcutter. It's not exactly you can't quite find this in Aesop, but so the woodcutter, a poor woodcutter, un pauvre boucheron, covered with sweat under the weight of his bundle of sticks, marches along, treads along with heavy steps, exhausted, and complaining about his lot. And he says, Who could be more pitiful than me? I am sick of this work. In fact, I would sell my soul to the devil if I could be relieved of the misery of my life. I don't care. The devil appears and says, "You called me." The woodcutter says, "Yes, would you mind helping me with this load? I'm on my way." And that's the fable. So, fables mostly have animals in them. So, fabulists, they're called. And great deep truths are told through the lives of animals. So this was one of La Fontaine's best, was the woodcutter and the devil. So he's face to face with the devil, he thinks again. So, anyway, we'll find out about Aesop. Wonderful. We realize how deeply Aesop's fables are stitched into Western culture. We've heard so many of them, never knowing that it was the Greek slave who collected these stories that may have gone right back to the Buddha in some cases. So, anything else to announce? Meoba. Chabadola. Okay. Let's bow to the Buddha and see you in a couple of weeks. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Wang Fo Hua Yin Ji Hua Yin Hai Fo Fu San. Counting up how many people.